Welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Lee Mack. In the news this week, at a training camp in London, hopes are high for a record medal haul as Britain's elite athletes prepare for 2012. At an Al-Qaeda training camp for terrorists, successful graduates wind down on the last day of term. And at a conference in Geneva, 2 delegates give their answer to the age-old question, how long should you stay in a broom cupboard when you've walked into it by mistake?
He's going to lead us into the future.
On he and Hislop's team is a young Glaswegian comedian who recently appeared on the BBC radio show Fighting Talk, or as it's known in Glasgow, Talk. Please welcome Kevin Bridges. And with Paul Merton tonight is a former broker, Thatcher supporter and leader of UKIP, who likes his name to be pronounced Nigel Farage. So please welcome Nigel Farage. And we start with the biggest stories of the week. Paul and Nigel, take a look at this.
Shadow Chancellor's debate.
David Cameron on a poster. That's Nick Clegg on the beach. That's a very starey man in the background.
Kilroy's back, look. The suntan's back.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, the future is orange, isn't it?
So Tony Blair made a speech the other day in which he sort of said, I'm back briefly, I'm not really Prime Minister anymore, but I'm back just to have a go at the Tories and I'm disappearing again. And that was basically it, wasn't it?
Yeah. He appeared long enough to say that the Tories are opportunistic and inconsistent. From Blair. Then he flew off to work for a Korean oil company.
But should we have a look at him with his opening words of his speech? Now, is it me, or is he sounding like he spent too much time in America?
It's a wonderful pleasure to be back here at Trimden Labour Club in the Sedgefield constituency.
Oh, it's a bit horrible, isn't it? Do you think it's a good idea that Tony Blair's returned?
No! It's a ghastly nightmare. The idea that Brown was thinking, I'm not doing very well, I wonder what'll help. Oh, get Blair back. He's popular. Iraq went down well.
Did anyone see the debate about Blair's speech on Newsnight?
If it was televised, yes. Several people, I should imagine.
I'll rephrase the question. Did anyone here see the debate about Blair's speech on Newsnight?
Well, we should start with the front row. Let's see.
Did anybody, not including the audience or people that work on the show, apart from us 5, not including me because I know the answer, see the debate about Blair's speech on Newsnight?
No.
It's not a surprise
no evidence
that he's coming back to try and defend his position. That's all. He's obviously important because we're spending all this time talking about it. I do not know the man who took us into an illegal invasion of Iraq and who's left this country less fair than it was when he came in 1997. And then actually put up taxes on the poor in order to cut taxes on the middle class. If that's all fairness, all I can say is you better keep it.
Prescott really objecting to anyone who can talk properly.
He looked like Rob Hull after he'd lost his luggage.
Incredible advert for democracy, wasn't it? 3 men just shouting at each other.
The big event of the week was the Shadow Chancellor's debate, wasn't it? And a 66-year-old pensioner knocked spots off Boy George Osborne and our dull Chancellor. So it just goes to show...
But you're coming out from the Lib Dems. You're trying to ruin their chances.
But I tell you what, the others were desperately dull, weren't they? I mean, it was the bland leading the bland. So, no, well done, Vince Cable, I think.
Well, I was going to say I thought he'd done very well, but I'd hate to agree with you.
How come the UKIP Chancellor didn't turn up?
We weren't invited.
It's a scandal.
It is extraordinary, isn't it? Prejudice, bias in the media, that's why I
Have you
put it
changed
down
the
to.
dress recently? Could it have gone missing?
Well, it might have done, I don't know. But we did come second last year in the Euro elections, you know. So we should have been invited, shouldn't we?
Well, that'll teach us to win next time.
Well...
Does anyone know what the Tories complained about after the debate?
Yes. They said Vince Cable was standing in the middle and that was unfair because it made him look reasonable.
They didn't like the amount of applause he was getting.
That is correct. Senior Tories phoned the production hotline claiming that Vince Cable was receiving too much applause. So if you're in the middle, you get the most applause. Is that how it works?
Not so far.
Well, you say that, Ian.
They're just trying to ruin my jokes.
Do you wish that Robert Kilroy still... Well, because you mentioned him earlier, would you think he should return to the UKIP throng?
No, I don't. He was ghastly.
Absolutely. Sorry, was he a mate of yours?
Yes. I apologise. I'm sorry, but no, he was awful.
You can say what you want about Kilroy, but you've got to admit he does know how to present a game show.
Their fate will be in each other's hands as they decide whether to share or to shaft.
It's not nice, is it?
The last thing you want to hear on your honeymoon.
When he came on this show, we had some footage of someone throwing fertiliser at him, which was followed by the immortal joke of the shit hitting the tan.
The actual election is imminent, as we all know. The main parties have chosen their slogans. Let's have a look at them first.
In a future that is fair for all.
Let us make this the year for change.
That's obviously not very fair. Does anybody know what the Lib Dem slogan is?
Does it combine fair and change? Have you got change for your fare?
It's change that works for you, building a fairer Britain.
Could it be that they had two slogans and they couldn't quite work out which was the best one? So being Lib Dems, they sort of thought, well, it'd be a shame to exclude anybody.
Does anybody know which famous double act the Tories have brought back to help them win?
Saatchi and Saatchi.
Yeah, and they're famous, of course, for the advertising campaign in 1979, with Thatcher's 79 election win, with this one, Labour isn't working. Here's the new campaign, I let 80,000 criminals out early, vote for me.
Did that sound just secured 80,000 votes?
If that wasn't enough, they've also brought out a series of posters featuring real people and a slogan which begins, I've never voted Tory before, but... And here's some examples. I've never voted Tory before, but I like their plan to help families. Obviously, within minutes, this was on the internet in a number of different forms, including, we've never voted Tory before, but we like their plans to cut inheritance tax for multimillionaires. And I've never voted Tory before because I'm 7 and I like the Power Rangers. Meanwhile, Labour has published a list of pledges. What have they promised to do?
He did one about community fairness, and he's going to secure the economy.
Can't tell the difference, can you, between the two parties?
OK, what are UKIP's 5 pledges?
Ah, straight talking. Straight talking. That's what you
two.
get
That's
from
2,
us.
yeah. I think we can all guess the other 3.
I think you probably can.
What are they?
Let's cut. Let's cut. Let's get rid of all the quangos and all the bureaucrats and all those useless people that
What country are the Quangos from?
I'm not sure. Were they a pop group at some point?
I thought you were going to say they're Belgian at that point.
No, I'm not very popular over in Belgium.
Why is that?
I seem to have upset the former Prime Minister. It was just sort of straight talking, really, but they didn't like it very much.
Well, it was more rude, wasn't it?
Well, I thought it was just normal parliamentary banter, really.
Well, but you said that one of UKIP's promises was that you would restore British things like politeness to debate, and then you called him a damp rag.
Yeah.
And said Belgium was a non-country.
Well, that's true. No, that is true. It is a non-country.
What, compared to Britain at the moment?
Should we have a little clip of you addressing the Belgium in question?
Well, if we don't, we've wasted the last 10 minutes, haven't we?
You know, really, you have the charisma of a damp rag and the appearance of a low-grade bank clerk. And the question that I want to ask, that we're all going to ask, is who are you? I've never heard of you. Nobody in Europe had ever heard of you. And I can say with confidence that I can speak on behalf of the majority of the British people in saying, we don't know you, we don't want you, and the sooner you're put out to grass, the better.
Can I just ask, have you ever done a best man speech before?
I thought it was quite moderate and reasonable.
I don't know what the audience thinks.
How could you speak on behalf of the British people on the size of your vote?
Well, I can say with confidence that nobody in Britain knew who he was. I mean,
I can say with confidence I've been to the moon. It doesn't mean it's happened.
Did you know who he was?
Yeah, that's Sven-Goran Eriksson. No, you mustn't assume that the general population is as ignorant as you are.
Remember that, then.
You're actually standing for election, aren't you?
I am. Oh, sorry. I thought you were trying to bring me in. Why not?
Do you know anybody who's standing for election that's...
Nigel is.
Oh, you know. Where will you be standing for election?
I'm going to stand against the Speaker, John Bercow.
Now, isn't that against protocol in Parliament?
Only a modern protocol. And even if it was, I couldn't care less. I think it's time we told our politicians what we think.
Well, to be fair, we have seen you acting a bit bonkers in the last clip, and for partiality, we have to show him acting a bit bonkers as well.
We were out of time, but there was one more point he wanted to make.
Well, I certainly haven't had 8 minutes.
Well, you have. No, in fact, you've had rather more.
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
about 4 times.
Let me finish.
Briefly. Briefly, if you want to ask about the second homes allowance, you're very welcome to do so. The answer's very simple. Do you want to go?
What?
Well, yes or no. I mean, yeah.
Sorry?
Do you want to ask the question?
Yes.
Please, go ahead.
What is your intention as regards the second home allowance?
I have no intention of claiming a second home allowance.
So it's Nigel Farage and John Bercow is your choice in Buckingham. Or as it's recently been named, Hobson's. Yes, this week saw the start of the nail-biting contest, which will end with the British public casting their vote for the person they most want to be Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. And, of course, the election kicked off as well. Tony Blair gave a speech in support of Gordon Brown. Many commentators remarked on Tony's orange tan. It's actually nothing to do with his jet-set lifestyle. In fact, it's an elaborate setup of mirrors that catch the full glare of the sun as it shines out of his own backside. All 3 leaders have been interviewed on national television. When Nick Clegg turned up for an ITV interview with Mary Nightingale, he was rigorously grilled for 20 minutes. But eventually, the security guard believed his story and let him in. Ian and Kevin, here's yours.
Oh, it's a cab. Stephen Byers in it. Yes, he is. Hello, £5 to go south of the river. Butterfill. Oh, Hoon. And that's Sir Ian Kennedy. This is a story about the Labour MPs who got caught by a sting.
To be fair, not just the Labour MPs.
It was 4 Labour MPs and 1 Tory MP, so how fair do you want me to be?
4 Labour MPs and 1 Tory MP. OK. I thought that was fair.
No Lib Dems.
No Lib Dems.
No members of UKIP. They
That's
weren't
true.
asked.
Asked or recognised.
But it was an incredibly good sting. Channel 4 dispatches set up a fake company that literally said, we're a lobbying company, if we give you a lot of money, will you introduce us to famous people and get the law changed? And a parade of Labour MPs came in and said yes. Starting with Stephen Byers, said, I'll be £5. And then an elderly Tory MP, I think was called Butterfill, which is a terrific name for a man filling his boots.
Then what were they claiming they could do for this?
That's what I don't
£5.
Basically, they said, we can get the law changed. We'll introduce you to Tony Blair or Peter Mandelson. I'll get you inside the cabinet. You just give us your money as a company and we'll change the law, which technically is corruption.
£5?
£5 a day.
I know a guy in Glasgow that can do it for 40 quid.
And actually, that's no questions asked.
Yeah.
Exact opposite.
Would we like to hear some of the edifying comments?
Would we?
OK.
I'm a bit like a sort of cab for hire, I suppose, at the moment. Well, at the moment, my sort of scale is between, it varies, but it's usually between 3,000 and 5,000 a day.
That's not fair, because the subtitles came up before he spoke, so he's obviously reading them.
But the great thing about that is Byers having been caught. And the producer of the programme said, we couldn't believe how stupid they were. I mean, the office looked rubbish. We hadn't dressed it very well. There's one pot plant. There's a girl sitting there with a sort of bag with a hidden camera in it. Sign saying hidden camera.
Cameraman in the next bag, hidden there. Sound guy hanging from the ceiling.
But when Byers got caught, he immediately recanted and said, I was just boasting. I wasn't being corrupt. What he was doing was lying in order to try and deceive people into giving him money. Which is much better.
Well, Byers said he'd had a word with Peter Mandelson over some food labelling for Tesco's. But what did Mandelson say about this?
I don't work at Tesco's, there's nothing to do with me.
But, you know, Byers does get these introductions. He does work for a lobbying company. He has got people to meet Blair. So it wasn't all spin. I mean, these people are genuinely corrupt. Jeff Hoon and Hewitt tried to topple Gordon Brown. Not only do they believe that democracy can be bought and sold, but they think they should determine who's the Prime Minister. Not that this should influence how any of you vote. There's strict BBC rules about this stuff, so just look at the corruption and take it in.
That's the campaign slogan, isn't it?
What exactly Mandelson said about this? He said, "I remember no such discussion." Byers later retracted everything he said after looking into Mandelson's eyes and feeling very, very sleepy. What's the Tories' own secret weapon been up to this week?
We've got a secret weapon. By its very nature, we know nothing about it. Ridiculous question to be asked. Is that the invisible man over there? I don't know.
I think, is it right that the Tories' secret weapons got pregnant?
I hope not. It's
Would
Boris
that be right?
Johnson we're talking about. As if that man wasn't off-putting enough. Let's not think about him pregnant. That means there's going to be more little Boris Johnsons running around.
In what sense is he a secret? Being the Mayor of London and a prominent Tory.
Boris isn't a secret weapon.
Well, he's a weapon.
Unless he's a sort of one of the ones that fires and then turns around and comes and blows you up.
Well, here he is talking about how the Olympics will turn London into Woodstock.
Then you've got Jubilee Gardens and right here where we are in Potter's Field, which will be slightly smaller areas. And we think that those will be fantastic kind of Woodstock carnival atmosphere, all sorts of entertainments, you know, fire eaters, people standing around painted silver like robots, you know the whole kind of good for you hamburgers.
He knows about as much about it as I do.
So what other part of the news have we been missing this week about the MPs cracking down on something?
You had Sir Ian Kennedy on. He prepared a report cracking down on their allowances. So his thing said they can't have second mortgages anymore, but they can employ members of their family. You can only have one member of your family.
You can only have one member of a family, full stop. The others get killed. New rules.
What about twins?
You have to flip a coin.
Flip the twin. Which one lands head first?
But the big thing was they can't travel first class anymore, MPs.
Is there any way the MPs could, buy a first-class ticket? Is there any system that would allow them to do that? Go to a railway station where somebody might be in a position to offer them such a thing.
Yeah, it was Nicholas Winterton who said that, MP for Macclesfield. You remember him?
Yeah.
Sorry, who was particularly annoyed about it? I've just given you the answer.
Nicholas
Winterton, MP for...
Macclesfield.
Well done, you're good at this, aren't you?
Yeah, I want to repeat.
OK, I'm going to make it more difficult now. In future rounds, I'm going to ask the question before I give the answer. OK? You're going to be on your own from now on.
Danger Mouse.
Yes. Who was Penfold's friend? My God. How do you do it?
It's bound to come up one day.
What Nicholas Winterton actually said was that the people in second class were a totally different type of people. They may be reading a book, but I doubt they're undertaking serious work that MPs do. He said that if he had to sit with people in second class, there would be distractions. I would not do work because people would be looking over my shoulder all the time and saying things like, bloody hell, how much are you claiming? Yeah, this is the return of parliamentary sleaze, which continues to hang around like a bad smell, which is what you get if no one cleans your moat for you. Former Defence Secretary Jeff Hoon was caught on camera offering his services for £3,000 a day. His lawyer later said, Jeff Hoon's comments have been misrepresented. Yeah, using that underhand TV trick of recording exactly what someone says. There was controversy over the tax status of Conservative Party donor Lord Ashcroft. Over recent years, he has given the Tories £4 million of his earnings, which, after tax, is £4 million. UKIP MEP Nigel Farage admitted that he has taken £2 million of taxpayers' money and expenses, employs his wife to run his office, paid from his allowances, and is hoping to become an MP at the next election. Well, he certainly ticks all the boxes.
Do we get right a reply here?
Yes, yes.
The money didn't go to me. That's
Wasn't
the
it
point.
for your party and your offices?
Didn't go to me, it went to employees.
All right, you nicked it. So, at the end of that round... OK, right to reply.
No, OK, it's a fair cop, I accept it.
Yeah. You wouldn't stand up very long in court, would you?
No,
I didn't kill them, didn't you?
money-
All right, I did. Go on, then.
I didn't actually get the money.
And so to round two, the picture spin quiz. Fingers on buzzers, teams. Paul and Nigel?
Well, I'm surprised it turned into that. I thought it was something else altogether. They've realised that Hollywood isn't actually in America at all. It's in Essex.
Signs up on the A137, aren't they?
Are they?
Yeah, big signs,
Yeah.
like saying Basildon.
Twinned with Hollywood?
You know, basically, that's what they're saying, yeah.
Is that what it is?
It's exactly what it is.
Is it?
This is news that Basildon in Essex has put up a sign to welcome visitors in the style of the famous Hollywood sign. Let's have a look at the Hollywood sign again. It's made up of 45-foot-high letters and towers over Tinseltown as a symbol of the American dream. Meanwhile, here's the Basildon sign. It's difficult to judge the scale, but some of those letters are upwards of 5 feet tall. The Sun compared the two towns. What did they say they had in common?
They've got the Basildon Walk of Fame. If you've ever paid your council tax in Basildon, they put a star on the pavement. I've got no idea. No idea what it is.
Is that outside the Chinese restaurant?
Exactly, yeah.
It's actually that each town hosts major entertainment events. Hollywood stages the Oscars and Basildon plays host to the Basildon and Pitsea Carnival. Speaking of grim towns, in Romania, what did the mayor of Pekica recently advise motorists to look out for? I think that's how you pronounce it, Pekica. P-E-C-I-C-A. Pekica? Pekica? Let's call the whole thing off.
Has this turned into one of those Lloyd Webber shows? Lee Mack is Dorothy.
Ian, you said it was your turn to be Dorothy tonight.
Just be careful how you go up the yellow brick road. Can I just ask you about this thing here?
The mayor of Pekica erected road signs which warn drivers to look out for something.
Oh, for people being drunk?
That's exactly right.
Yes,
He
and
looked
there's a
out
little
for
thing, because everyone's drunk all the time.
attention drunks, and there was also a helpful picture to illustrate the problem.
Yeah.
Fingers on buzzers, teams.
Oh, the Queen's been knocked horizontal. This is, I think, despite the rather unusual angle we have there, I think this is the Queen wanted to visit somewhere that had stairs and steps, and they said, oh, you can, health and safety, you're too old, you can't go that way.
I was just going to give you the actual event, the Royal Nova Scotia International Festival. And the owners of the festival said the ascent and descent of the steps with someone so old could be a potential disaster. I think a tsunami and an earthquake is a disaster. An 83-year-old woman falling down the stairs is a YouTube clip. Probably get $1 million for every step.
I reckon.
$1 million hits for every step.
Not worth displaying as a claim. You don't read that, do you? Have you fallen over? Have you had an accident at work? Of course, the Canadians had good reasons for banning her from climbing the stairs.
It was the Canadian military. Just shows you how bored the Canadian military must be. 17 steps is their Vietnam.
I mean, to make it more tricky, they could grease the handlebars, couldn't they?
I think she was genuinely offended, because every time she flies anywhere, she actually climbs deliberately the stairs into the aeroplane and out of the aeroplane.
But they weren't happy at the angle, you see. The Canadians said that the angle was 60 degrees and she couldn't do 60 degrees.
What are those aeroplane steps?
Oh, they're 48 degrees. Don't be a fool. And how did a tattoo spokeswoman try to lessen the insult to our fully mobile monarch?
She installed a stair lift.
She claimed that it wasn't the Queen's age that was the problem, but more that she had not been trained to use them. On the subject of people treating pensioners like idiots, would you like to see how Newsnight recently conducted a poll on how to fund care for the elderly?
Yes.
So, if you prefer the option of paying a tax on your estate after your death to fund social care, please start doing star jumps now. OK, second question in our straw poll. If you prefer to pay a voluntary insurance premium on your retirement to fund social care, start running on the spot.
If you think you should get a big heating allowance, turn blue now.
In other royal news, which part of which royal was recently compared to a loaf of bread?
Oh, Princess Anne's hair.
Absolutely right.
Somebody said to her, that looks like a loaf of bread. And your earrings look like baps. Or does these baps look like earrings? I can't remember.
Oh, God.
It was one or the other.
Yes, it's Princess Anne's hairdo.
Yeah.
A woman described as New Zealand's foremost international fashion designer met the princess at a party and afterwards said, "The world's hairdresser's at your beck and call and your hair looks like a cottage loaf." Seems a bit harsh, doesn't it? Yeah. Let's see what she means. OK, fair point. They've even got Princess Anne's teeth on that bread, look.
Could you point out which is which? I'm a bit confused.
This is the safety-obsessed Canadian officials who are... Sorry, can I just ask, can we just spin it a bit quicker? Sorry, I'm a very fast reader. I read ahead of myself. That's probably the problem. This is the safety... Slow down, you silly cow! Sorry. This is the safety-obsessed Canadian officials who have banned the Queen from climbing a set of stairs at the Nova Scotia International Tattoo. The event organisers argued that 17 steps is too much for the Queen, even though she can easily manage the grand staircase at Buckingham Palace, which has 47 steps, each with one of Charles's roller skates accidentally left on it. Fingers on buzzers, teams.
Just this hyena and get his photograph taken. And put it up on his Facebook.
It's something about the hyena's laughter, isn't it? The laughter is a sort of coded... They send a lot of messages to each other through the laughter. They can communicate things like, oh, zebra here, or waterhole found nearby. Rooney doubt for World Cup.
Frustration to summon help and organise food-gathering activities.
Food-gathering activities? They usually just strip a carcass, don't they, hyenas? That's what they do. Get a zebra down on the ground and whoosh. I saw that once, happened once.
Did you?
In Broadway, it was. Frightened the life out of the bus conductor.
When they see a lion, what do they actually do?
Lion! High-pitched laugh. Sarcastic laugh. Lion!
That's not a sarcastic
laugh.
I don't think hyenas do sarcasm, do they?
No, they do a laugh where they pretend they've got the joke, but they haven't really... One of those.
Well, like that one.
Like that
They actually giggle.
Giggle?
They giggle when they see a lion. A story of this magnitude has inevitably set internet message boards alight, of course.
Absolutely.
Yes. What did Chris from France write on the Daily Mail
How the hell do we know what Chris from France? It's bad
Well, I
enough
gave you a
asked-
clue. I say he's from France.
Oh, shit. I don't... Something like that.
You can't even have an imaginary cigarette on television anymore.
Can't you?
No, that's banned.
Really?
It really is.
It wasn't
banned.
lit.
You're
In other animal news, how did a goldfish make the front page of the Mail?
It's this poor woman, isn't it? Joan Higgins, her name is.
Oh, yes, you got the name right as well.
She sells pets. And kids come in and buy pets, and that's all fine. But there's a new law that you can't sell pets to under 16-year-olds, including goldfish. And she's been fined £1,000 and tagged.
tagged.
I thought it was pretty lenient, maybe on that. I don't know how many times I've been stopped in street corners with kids asking me to go in the pet shop and buy them goldfish.
But I mean, she runs a pet shop, so they'll know where she is from 9 till 5 days a week, presumably.
Yeah, there's that nighttime thing when she's out in the pond with a big net. To be fair, though, inside the goldfish was grade A heroin.
That's not true, is it?
Well, you know, all I'll say is if you've got a goldfish, Try it out.
Well, try smoking it.
No, you're thinking of mackerels.
Mackerels.
Time now for the odd one out round. Just one between you this week. Here's your four. They are Adolf Hitler, Jonathan Ross and Jane Goldman's Victorian skeleton, Nana Mouskouri, and Theodore Roosevelt's pet rooster.
Do we buzz in? I suppose we do, don't we? I hope it's going to be sorted out before the election.
Only one of them's got two heads.
Which one?
The one with two heads.
Oh, that one.
Is it? They're all members of the European Parliament?
No, it's not that either. You're on the right track with...
She was definitely an MEP.
She was.
She was.
Hitler was very keen on a greater Europe. United in many ways. Under one currency, one leader. Yeah. That's a Victorian freak. I mean, obviously rather sad. It's a real skeleton of someone born with two heads.
Or two people born with one body. Depends which way you look at it.
Exactly. Metaphysics now, Lee. This is much better.
Thank you. Don't worry, there'll be a cop gag in a minute.
It's about parting your hair, because Hitler had it famously parted there. She's got her hair parted in the middle. Two heads, you're sort of like grabbing the comb. You could use a bit of an argument. And the cock's got a cock's comb, so he doesn't have to comb his own hair. So that's the answer.
The words clutching and straw spring too hard. It's not that, no.
Well, all right, then what is the answer, then? If that was clutching at straws, it would be something like they all had a butterfly called Simon.
I think I know where you're going with this. They've all got the wrong number of certain things that normally you would have a different number of.
Oh, surely not Hitler's testicles.
Yes. We're going into Hitler having only, well, being monotesticular.
It was a popular song at the time.
Yeah. Can I just say monotesticular doesn't rhyme with Albert Hall?
Nana Mouskouri's also only got one testicle.
No, but she's a magic one that foretells the future. She keeps it in a jar by the door.
She has only got one of something, though.
Liver. No, lung. Kidney.
Heart.
You're taking that Doctor Who thing too seriously, aren't you?
Yeah, very.
It's something to do with her profession before she was an MEP.
Well, she's a singer. She's only got one vocal cord.
One vocal cord. Do we know how many vocal cords we're supposed to have?
3.
2.
2.
Supposed to have 2? She's
I've
only
got one.
You've only got one?
I've got 3. I've got her extra one.
And what's the rooster got?
He's supposed to have 2 of something that he's only got 1 of.
He's got one leg.
One leg.
One leg is correct.
So they've all got one short, apart from the heads that have got one extra.
Is exactly right.
Right.
Do you know where they got their two-headed skeleton from?
Two heads are us.
I'll tell you, shall I? It
Yeah.
was the shop in Hackney. Have a guess how much it cost.
Well, what would you normally pay for a two-headed skeleton? Do you buy one and get one free? That would cost about 850 quid.
No, 2,000.
No, that'd be ridiculous. Nonsense.
This is like a freak show version of Cash in the Attic. It's actually £1,500. So
£1,500.
and Adolf Hitler is commonly rumoured to have had only one testicle. Can anyone tell me what happened to the other one?
He was shot off in the war. He was wounded in the First World War.
Medics gave him a nickname.
What was it?
It was Screamer.
Oh, that German sense of humour. What, because he was screaming in agony?
Yeah.
Oh, great. No wonder he started the next war.
Who wants to see the one-legged rooster?
We do.
It might not... It could be just sideways on, couldn't it, I suppose? Or the floor could be really hot. The answer is they all have only one of something they should have 2 of, apart from Jonathan Ross and Jane Goldman's Victorian skeleton, which has 2 heads but really should only have 1. It's official, Hitler only had 1 ball. This is according to a German army medic who saved the Führer's life during the First World War, though there is, as yet, no evidence to support the claim that Hitler's mother, the dirty bugger, chopped it off when he was small. The medic claimed that Hitler lost his testicles as a result...
Any news on Goebbels? Did he have none? Second verse.
I don't know. I know someone had something similar, but I can't remember who that
Himmler. Rhymes were similar.
You probably knew that. I did know that, yes. The medic claimed that Hitler lost his testicles as a result of an explosion during the First World War, and then he joined UKIP. Sorry, no, I'm joking. I'm joking. The medic claimed that Hitler lost his testicle as a result of an explosion during the First World War, presumably the same explosion that blew the ends of his moustache off. It's a very hard sentence to say that, isn't it?
Blew off the ends of his moustache. The moustache would be the last word.
Blew the ends off his moustache.
That would be better,
Blew
but
off
now
the
we're all very familiar with the concept. It may be very tricky to get it across as a gag.
Hey, watch this. I like a challenge.
Yeah.
Knock, knock. Oh, please yourself. Theodore Roosevelt famously lent his name to the teddy bear after refusing to shoot a bear cub on a hunting trip. He opted instead to discharge his gun harmlessly to one side, although in doing so, he shot the leg off a passing chicken. Time now for the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication, Taxi Talk, a magazine which even Daily Mail readers look at and go, steady on. And we start with, show support for UKIP by what?
Not taking illegal immigrants, because there's just too many of them in this country, and it's about some of us and taxi drivers, and we made a stand on this and said they shouldn't be here and they've got to go back. Is that right?
It's got to fit into that bit there.
Oh, sorry.
I just got a bit carried away,
Yeah,
that was all. It's show support for UKIP by cozying up in your dressing gown. This is a magazine... If you don't know about this, I'm not sure how the message is getting across.
I must be a bit out of touch, mustn't I?
UKIP, surely not. This is a magazine advert for UKIP's own range of Keep the Pound dressing gowns. Perfect for those special times when you want to rant about Europe and relax.
They look terrific.
But presumably it's only the person you go to bed with that sees us every day. I mean, a dressing gown, if you had like a normal jacket, you could walk down the street and get attacked.
No, but most people that vote for UKIP are walking down the street in their dressing gowns. It's fine.
Are they for her? Are they not an equivalent?
Well, do UKIP allow women to vote? Are you allowing about...
We're terribly modern and liberal about that sort of thing. We really are.
It's also ideal for that hotel trip when you've been upgraded to a room with extreme views. Next, what takes a Norwich cabbie by surprise?
Ipswich.
Ricky Martin.
Not Ricky Martin. It's actually a £1,000 tip. Next, haunted sunbed what?
Gives Anne Boleyn a tan.
Has Blair as new client.
Was there some story about Jordan moving out of her house? God, I'm so embarrassed to have
Of
read
all
this.
the people... Of all the people, I wasn't expected to get this answer.
She's moved out of her house, apparently, because it's haunted. This story's totally untrue, and it's filled up 4 pages of the Star.
Is the sunbed haunted? Or the house is haunted? If you're moving out the house because the sunbed's haunted, you just get rid of the sunbed.
You did hear the bit where I said Jordan, didn't you? It could have been worse. It could have said haunted sunbed forces Jordan to invade Israel. Wasn't it? Now, that would be a story, wouldn't it?
Is that right? What's the
yes,
full headline?
That's exactly right. Haunted sunbed forces Jordan to sell home. This is the story that Jordan's sunbed is haunted. I've seen a terrifying vision, said the ghost. Next up, invisible what is spotted?
Dalmatian.
It's a gecko. This is the gecko that's so well camouflaged that no one's ever seen it before. It's a very rare creature, or there could be billions of them, we'll never know. So, the final scores are Ian and Kevin have 5 points, Paul and Nigel have 7 points. Before we go, we've just got time for the caption competition. Ian and Kevin have this.
Massive dog. We'll go for massive dog.
Yeah.
Massive dog. OK, Paul and Nigel get that.
Invisible gecko claims first victim.
Is it man trampled by massive dog?
Is it him saying, Her Majesty can't possibly step over him?
The Queen could move diagonally on the floor, couldn't she? On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Kevin Bridges, Paul Merton and Nigel Farage, and Nigel Farage. And I leave you with news that, despite the success of Sport Relief, organisers admit that next year they won't be doing a skipathon with James Corden. After the success of BBC's Inside John Lewis, a new documentary goes behind the scenes at Dixon's. And as Google Street View extends to parts of rural Britain, one local resident asks for his identity to be obscured. Good night.
And Have I Got News For You is back Thursday at 9 on BBC One. Coming up here on BBC Two, Peter struggles with Nathan's death and Sylar hits the carnival as Heroes continues next.
Some people in the audience are watching a football match.
Does anyone know the Arsenal score?
1-0.
2. Arsenal? Cheers.
It's obviously one of our top recordings.
Because otherwise, if you weren't watching that...
to Barcelona. Even you're bloody watching it! You're working it! Blimey, no. Actually, it is 2-1. I've got it on here. It's only Ian not watching it. We're all watching it.
I've got opera on Sky Arts.